Hey folks, this is Jake Davis with an on-the-fly review for you, and today I'm talking about Shaft 2019, released last weekend, directed by Tim Story and starring Samuel L. Jackson, Richard Roundtree, Jesse Austen, Regina Hall, Alexandra Shipp, and Method Man. Little bit of touching up, just because the Shaft franchise itself can be a little bit confusing. The very first Shaft film came out 1971, starring Richard Roundtree. Made a shitload of money, won an Academy Award for its legendary theme song by Isaac Hayes. There were two sequels to that movie, Shaft's Big Score and Shaft in Africa. Then we jump to the year 2000, John Singleton's Shaft, starring Samuel L. Jackson as the nephew of the original Private Eye. Now a New York City detective, eventually turned Private Eye. Jump ahead to this movie, 19 years later, again, just called Shaft, but is still a sequel, a continuation. So we've had, and we're picking up with the new Shaft. Okay, so it's 5 Shaft movies, 3 of them just called Shaft, but no actual remakes, or there's no remakes in there. You know, they're all sequels. It's all the same lineage in time. Even though this newest film is the first comedy, they're all in the same timeline. Just to make that all clear. Okay, so the setup to this movie is we meet John Shaft Jr., who was played by Jesse Austen, and he was not raised with his dad in his life, and he's kind of a typical millennial, or at least the typical perspective of a millennial. You know, he's kind of soft, skinny jeans, bad music, weird taste, like he has like coconut water and stuff like that, instead of like drinking alcohol like a man. Anyhow, and he's a FBI analyst when a dear friend of his is, accidentally dies of drug overdose when he knows it was a murder. So while investigating into it, he goes and, his dad's a private eye, so the Shaft family gets involved. Now, I loved the 2000 movie. 1971 film, which is a good movie. I've always enjoyed it. The real appeal to that movie, it's a badass movie. Some badass shit in that film, no doubt. But the real appeal to that movie is Richard Roundtree. He's just great in it, truly badass. But the movie from 2000, I saw it in the theaters when I was a teenager, and I thought it was just gritty crime thriller with some great villains. I'll always think of Jeffrey Wright as Peoples Hernandez as the first great film villain of the millennium, even though it was still technically the 20th century. And Samuel L. Jackson has always, he's like the John Wayne of our generation. I'm going to try not to talk about how great Sam is, because I haven't had a chance to talk about how great Sam Jackson is, how much I'm a personal fan of his work yet in my videos. Samuel L. Jackson, I'm sure I've mentioned him a lot because he's done over 100 movies. But I've been wanting to do a video just about him and his career, and I'm going to be doing that sometime in the near future. But I really enjoyed this movie. I had a lot of fun, a real good time. I thought while the movie it had brutal violence, wicked villains, and was able to, while bring plenty of comedy to it, keep the heart and the feel of the world of Shaft. I didn't think they compromised anything artistically by making it a comedy, because it still felt like Shaft. It really did. Roundtree was great in it. In the 2000 movie, he had just a little bit more than a cameo. A couple, 2 or 3 scenes, usually just sitting there bullshitting with John. And this, he's to kick some guys' ass. Sure, he doesn't come in until like the last 15 minutes of the movie, but he almost steals the movie in the last 15 minutes. I had a lot of fun watching this movie. I thought it was just had a good heart, very funny, was faithful to the characters. Felt, I mean, even though this wasn't a film that I really was in much demand for, I wasn't expecting. I wasn't like wasn't something I had to see, and then I started hearing the audience reviews for it, hearing like this movie's getting bad reviews on Rotten Tomatoes, but the audience score is in the 90s. And then I watched a very positive review for it on YouTube from by the amazing Lucas. Kick Out's a great channel. Uh, and that sold me. I decided, well, I gotta see it now. I have got to see Shaft because I love the first movie so much. I was a little perturbed by them making it a comedy, but overall I think it really works. It perfectly blended it in, and it was. And yes, this movie does have commentary on the softness of the millennial generation, of the modern generation. I mean, it's like, look, but at the same time, it's trying to make make it very clear. There's a difference between dressing like being a man in your mid-30s dressing like a 17-year-old girl, and being someone who drinks till they black out every night or pick a fight. There's a middle ground there, for masculinity, and one of them isn't masculine at all, believe it or not. But yeah, I mean, look, the message of the film that clearly the political message is pissing everybody off is it's like the movie comes out and says there's nothing to be ashamed about being a man, or being a manly man. Being a macho man. There's nothing wrong with it. In fact, many people find that to have its own rewards and its own charm. But so overall, this is just a fun fucking movie, an unapologetic movie. And why there's this talk of this political message about it, I don't think that's really intended to be a political thing. It's just the subject of the comedy. John Shaft catches up with his boy after 25 years. And, the kids, wears skinny jeans and drinks frappuccinos and listens to mumble rap. And it's just, goddamn, kid. What the hell? But, that's the age and that's the time. And there's always going to be this kind of sense that, young people really just go along with fads just because these are the fads presented to them, opposed to having their own tastes. Anyhow, I highly recommend this movie. I think everybody should go out and see it. What a good time. And it's not just the boys club either. I mean, because Regina Hall is in this, and she's always funny. She is a natural comedian, hysterical actress. So I'm gonna give it 5 stars. 5 stars for Shaft. Had a blast. Could not recommend it any higher. It's while a completely different, fresh take to Shaft, and is 100% a comedy. The action delivers, and it just worked for me, man. A great throwback to old action movies while being 100% now. You know what I mean? Anyhow, hope y'all like this review. Hope you enjoy the shit I do. Hope you go see Shaft. I'm Jake Davis, and I'll catch you on the fly.